Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation. We are Symbol Athletica, the tribe of the purpose-driven. We stand for people that stand for something. And yes, we have the audacity to believe that if there's anybody out there with the capacity to change this world in a positive way, it is people just like you, people that are committed to changing themselves in a positive way. So today's conversation, I think, is short, sweet, but I think it's a powerful one. We're going to talk about the hole that people probably have in their destiny, in their plan, their destiny by design, in planning their destiny. It's one you don't want to miss. Let's get to it. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to today's conversation, the hole in your destiny. Specifically, the hole in designing your destiny. Now, when most people read that, the first thing that comes to mind is there's a problem, right? This conversation is going to be about a problem people may have with designing their destiny. And in fact, it's the opposite. We're going to talk about the hole in your destiny is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. So to help you visualize this and understand this in the shortest amount of time possible, I thought I'd help paint a picture that we can all relate to. And if you ever looked at the building of a building, that sounds funny. I don't know why that sounds funny to me today. But if you ever looked at a building in the process of being constructed, see how I changed the words around there? The first thing you see once they cleared a lot is they dig a deep hole, right? They dig a deep hole to lay the structure of the foundation. So they have to go down before they go up. And the larger the plans, the taller this building is intended to be, the bigger this building is intended to be, the deeper and bigger the hole must be dug to lay the foundation that will support it. And many of you have seen this. If you've ever custom built a home, it's the exact same way. I remember when I bought my first custom home, the most interesting part to me, other than walking into the finished product, right, was the very beginning when I went to the lot that I bought, and then I came back a few weeks later and it was this big giant hole dug. And then you can watch them go from there with concrete and all that other stuff. But the fundamental rule of architecture, right, is that you have to build a strong foundation to support the building. So with that being a good, clear, relatable metaphor and image, we're going to apply that same knowledge to our quest to design our destiny. So as in the creation of anything lasting, it should be built on a strong foundation. So now that we look at the rules of building and we realize that the foundation that needs to go down deep into the ground first, how does that relate to our designing of our destiny? The way I'm going to encourage you to accept that it relates, to give you a model to work from, is that for you to create something, especially something big, which I hope you are, then you must first create space. You must first create this hole, right? And this hole often represents actually what will be perceived to be a deficit or space or room. In many cases, it's gonna make you feel like if you're standing on the edge, let's assume that ground level is where you are, and you're gonna build a massive skyscraper, and the first thing you do is you dig this hole. If you were to jump in that hole, then relative to where you started, you would be underground, right? You would be below your starting point, right? And in many cases, when we lay out a plan to build ourselves or our body of work, if we do it correctly, the very first thing we're going to do is going to make us feel like we're regressing, like we're going backwards. In many cases, in terms of skill set, we're going to realize that to build our desired endpoint, we have to acquire new skills. So when we first take on the act of acquiring that new skill, we're going to feel less capable in that area than we do with our normal skill, right? We're going to feel awkward. We're going to feel like we're moving backwards. So, and ironically, this is a good sign, right? So hopefully some of us, that little distinction might help you in your planning, right? So you noted that if you have this plan in place, and and once you commit to doing this great thing, making the change, getting on the path to growth, the first thing you feel is a little bit less adequate, a little awkward, uncomfortable. That might be the first real indication that the first step you take is a good one. It's an accurate one. So now I want you to remember that moving forward, that feeling you have that of being less capable or awkward or not comfortable, a little bit more fearful. The only thing you've done is you jumped into the hole that you've just dug to build your skyscraper. And that's validation that you're doing the right thing, that no architect would feel bad about the fact that they come to the land, the lot, and they see a big hole down. And they wouldn't feel like, wow, I feel bad because the skyscraper is supposed to go up, but the hole is going down. I must be doing something wrong. They would feel the exact opposite. They would think, right, great. They would just look on their list and check the box. Look at that deep hole that's built. We're building a strong foundation. We are right on plan. So that's one thing I'm hoping you get from this. The second thing is the idea of a hole being space or a deficit, emptiness, right? Most people, when we embarked upon creating a plan and we say, okay, I want to do this new thing, I want to create this new thing, I want to become this new person, they think of it as a demand for them to add things into their life. So I want to change my body. So I must add working out in, I must add in a diet plan, I must add in a gym membership, I must add in a trainer. When in fact, the reason why most people fail, in my opinion, is because they jump to addition before they do subtraction. And subtraction means they don't make the space in their life, in their schedule, in their timing, in their commitments, in their lifestyle. They don't first dedicate themselves, commit to making the space before they commit to making the ad. So if you have two people lined up and one person says, I'm going to work out twice a week for an hour for the next 6 months because I'm committed to making a physical change. That's one person. And they just say, okay, great. And they go after it. And then another person says, okay, I am no longer going to watch this 1 hour of TV on these 2 days to make room for me to now work out on those 2 days at that time. And then they go after it. I put my money on that second person every single bit of the time. Why? Because they're clear on the space they've made to add in the additional activity. Now, the first person, and the difference is it sounds like it's just semantics, but it's deeper than that. Because the first person in that example is going to be looking to find time to work out. They're going to be looking to find time, and this is just most people. They're going to be looking to find time to work out. In fact, you hear it in the language of most people because most people say, I can't find the time to go to the gym or to run or to walk or to read the book or to shop or whatever it is they need to do that would support that plan. They can't find the time. Person number two in my example has created the time. They've made the space. They don't have to look for it. They created it. In other words, they've dug the hole in which they can lay a good foundation. So that's the gist of this idea. It's short and sweet and powerful, though, that the very first thing I encourage you to consider doing as you put your destiny plan out before you, as you put your goal plan out before you, as you put your lifestyle plan out before you, as you put your business plan out before you, your personal plan out before, personal growth plan out before you, your skill set change plan out before you, that the very first thing you should now at least think about and hopefully act about is, okay, the first thing I'm going to have to do is I know I'm going to have a foundation if these changes I'm about to make are going to be lasting. And the bigger the body of work, or the bigger the goal, or the bigger the change you're trying to create, the bigger the foundation, the stronger the foundation needs to be. So the first thing I'm encouraging you to do is to sit down and determine how big of a hole can you dig, right? How big of a hole can you dig for this foundation? In terms of time, how many things can you take out of your time, your existing normal timeline to make room for the change? You know, in terms of activity, skill set change, how much room can I make? How much space can I make? How many things can I take out of my normal average day? Identify. The biggest challenge for many of us is most of the things we do with our so-called free time is unconscious. We don't really think about it. We just kind of bounce around through the day like a leaf going down the stream, and the next thing you know, 3 hours have passed. So the first exercise of just identifying the elements in your timeline that are candidates for removal is going to put a lot of you ahead of where you are. So once you've identified the things that you can remove to make the space, you're going to make the space, and then you're going to make the adjustments, the list of the things you add and change in your life to fill up that space, and that create the foundation that, if you stick to it, will support the body of work that you are dedicating to in your path towards the destiny of your design. That is the whole. That is the hole that I hope you have in your destiny plan, in your planning for your destiny. So, if you do not have that, you do not have this hole, if you do not have this type of hole in your planning, in your future planning, in your current planning, then I'm going to say that you have a hole. The first kind of hole that you probably thought I was talking about when you heard the title of this broadcast. There's something missing in your planning. So that's kind of poetic. It's kind of funny to me that, if you have a hole, it's great, but if you don't have a hole, then you have a hole. But now you guys know the two different types of holes that I'm referring to in this useful, practical, metaphorical tool, right? So, with that, I hope that you have dug a massive hole, and I hope that you have a rock solid foundation, and when you stay, and you may feel uncomfortable down in it. In fact, if you jump into it, into the foundation of your change, you may feel awkward. You may feel like you're moving backwards. You may feel like you're underwater. People that used to be standing next to you are now standing above you, right? Because they're not in the hole of their foundation with you. So relative to them, they may think you're going backwards too. But none of this now matters. None of this now matters because you know that this hole is fundamentally necessary. And the bigger your plans, the bigger the hole. And the more time you need to spend in that proverbial hole, fleshing out the structure of your foundation.